Consent to address the House for 5 minutes.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I never thought I would live to see the day when a commentator entrusted by a major broadcast network with the ability to reach millions of listeners would use his influence to incite voter fraud. But I'm afraid this week we passed that unfortunate milestone. On Friday the 15th, MSNBC commentator Ed Schultz told his nationally syndicated radio audience, and I quote, "I tell you what, if I lived in Massachusetts, I'd try to vote 10 times. I don't know if they'd let me or not, but I'd try to. Yeah, that's right, I'd cheat to keep these bastards out. I would." End of quote. Now, this could be dismissed as an unfortunate verbal excess brought on by except for the fact that when given the opportunity to retract the statement, Mr. Schultz embellished it in a way that makes it crystal clear that his words were deliberate and calculated. He said, quote, "I misspoke on Friday. I'm sorry. I meant to say, if I could vote 20 times, that's what I'd do," end quote. Later he said, quote, "Let me be very clear. I'm not advocating voter fraud. I'm just telling you what I would do," end quote. Now, Mr. Speaker, exactly how does one not advocate voter fraud when 3 times on national broadcasts you say that's what you would do? Mr. Speaker, this can only be interpreted as an incitement to commit voter fraud in a pivotal election in the course of our nation. As such, it strikes at the very foundation of our democratic traditions and our constitutional institutions. In every election, win, lose, or draw, it's of utmost importance that the vote be fair, that it be accurate, and that it have the confidence of every citizen, both those in the majority as well as those in the minority. If we cannot trust the sanctity of the vote, we've destroyed the legitimacy of that vote, and with it the legitimacy of that government. All of our governing institutions and all of their acts rest upon a single foundation: fair and free elections, which guarantee that those who exercise authority under our Constitution do so deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. It is this principle that Mr. Schultz has sought to desecrate and demean. His statements excusing voter fraud weaken the single most important mechanism of our democracy and undermine our form of government. His words deserve, indeed they demand, the contempt and condemnation of every American. And they deserve immediate action by those who have accorded him his broadcast platforms and whose silence and inaction thus far can only be described as a disgrace. And I